Everyone, standing next to the RX4 powered Barra here. Bit of a wrap-up video here. We're going to answer some questions from viewers. Thanks to everyone that's already subscribed. We passed 10,000 subscribers this year. If you're new to the channel because you've clicked on the thumbnail and it piques your interest and you want to unload in the comment section, before you do that, click the subscribe button. It's free. Why not? Really helps me out and I appreciate it. With that out of the way, let's have a little quick review of what 2020 has been for us, what we got planned for 2023, maybe a bit more about who I am, because maybe you just see me in front of the camera, you don't actually know about who I am or where I've come from. Also, if you don't want to sit through this whole video, I'm not sure how long it's going to be, it might end up being 30, 40 minutes long or something. There are timestamps in the description and you can just go click those links and go straight to the question that you want answered and you want to listen to, so you don't have to sit through the whole video if you don't want to. Appreciate it if you did, but yeah, click the description and you'll see timestamps. You just click on that and bang, go straight to there. So if thumbnail is the real reason you're here, then you can you'll be able to find where that timestamp is and go straight to that question and find out, hey, what is a street car? All right, trusty mobile phone here with some questions and answers and stuff prepared here. I have a memory like a sieve, so I have to rely on this to actually remember where I am and not get sidetracked here. In terms of 2022, we passed 10,000 subs, which was killer. That's awesome. Thank you everyone that clicks the subscribe button. It keeps on growing every day. That's massive. We passed 1 million views overall for the channel, so that's pretty cool too. Uploaded, filmed, edited, and uploaded 33 videos. So I film everything myself, edit it myself, and take care of all that. So that's pretty good. 52 weeks in the year, 33 videos, not too bad. The RX7, which is just out of shot over here, we dynoed that. We made 760 horsepower. Then we went racing for the first time. Ran my first 8-second pass in it. Ran over 160 mile an hour in it, which was killer. Started this project, which has been a massive undertaking and a decent engineering feat, the likes of which I've never sort of done before. I had a couple of videos pass 100,000 views, which for a tiny little channel like mine is pretty cool. And I finally got to go on a trip to the United States of America, which I'd been planning with the family since April 2020, and it just didn't happen because of you know what. So that was great to finally get out of the country and go on holidays. All right, so the plans for 2023, pretty simple really. Finish this RX4 and get it out on the road and driving. Race the RX7 more because, well, that's what it's been built to do. Probably do some more how-to videos once this is all done. They seem to resonate really well, and I really like doing those kinds of videos. And realistically, it's just to have fun. It's a little bit about myself in terms of my background or where I come from. I am on YouTube, but I'm not a YouTuber. I don't class myself as a YouTuber at all. I film videos and that when I want to for fun, but there's no monetary reason to be on YouTube. I just do it for the fun. So I don't consider myself a YouTuber. I just consider myself on YouTube like anyone can be. So my background with automotive stuff comes from, I've worked at a Rotary performance workshop. I worked at one of the largest automotive performance aftermarket wholesalers and retailers in Australia. I've also run my own performance business and I've built other people's cars and that for them over years and that too. So my background isn't just, hey, I'm in front of a camera and I own some pretty cool cars. My background in terms of knowledge comes from being in the industry for over 20 years now. So in terms of who I am, I'd say I'm someone who does all his own stunts in a way. So you look at the RX7, it's probably the best example of that. I did all the chassis work on this. So I built the roll cage, the four-link setup, the diff, everything. Did all the wiring for the ECU and the PDM, did all the tuning, I did all the engine building, and I raced the car. So I think if you have a look at what others do out there, that's probably the one thing I'm so proud of myself, is that everything I do is all me. And I hope, whether it's for better or worse, whether I'm not the best fabricator in the world, I might not be the best wiring guru or whatever in the world in that, but that sort of jack of all trades, master of none. But what it enables me to do is that when I am talking about subjects around racing or building the engine or rotary stuff or wiring and that with you guys, you know that the information is coming from a place where I've lived, eaten and breathed it before and can let you know how to go about it, because I actually do all of this stuff myself. We're not going down to XYZ workshop to build the engine. We're not going to Johnny Dynos to dyno our car. We're not getting some ring in to race our car at the racetrack. Everything you see on this channel is all me. And that's probably what I'm most proud of and why I run the channel, essentially why I do what I do. All right, time for the Q&A now. I was actually a bit surprised by the amount of questions that come through. I wasn't expecting anyone to actually reply, but here we go. We've got quite a fair few. Now, I haven't got people's names there or whatever because a lot of people ask the same questions or whatever, so I've just basically summarized all the questions into one. So let's get started. So the surface before was horrendous, and the surface after looks great. Personal experience, I've traveled 40 foot under power on the new surface only, so I can't give much of an experience. What is the tool or tools you wish you'd gotten sooner and maybe should have got a better quality one sooner? Welders, cheap ones are okay to start with to save up. 18 volt brushless over super cheap auto 12 volt. What in your opinion is not worth cheaping out on? Do you have a method on tool investment versus time saved? So I said ask a question, not 7 questions, but here we go. We'll do our best to answer some of these. A bit of background before we get started here. Another question that come up a bit is people asking what I do for a job. So obviously YouTube is definitely not my job. Just answered it before that basically over the last 22 years, I've either worked in automotive performance, wholesaling, manufacturing, retailing, or I've worked for power tool, a hand tool company. My knowledge in terms of performance parts and also tools is very, very first-hand, and it's not just subjective of, oh, I've used this one tool before and this brand is the best. I've used all the brands before. I've worked for a couple of companies, so I know what makes a good power tool and what makes one that's good enough, essentially. In terms of my tools here, I own a mill and a lathe. Lathe is probably the pick of those two if I was to buy only one. And the main reason I own those two tools is because machine shops and engineering shops are horrendous generally in terms of timelines of doing jobs and getting them back to you. In terms of welders, those two Uni-MIG welders that I've got, the MIG and the TIG, are phenomenal. I wish I'd bought one earlier. They're pretty affordable in terms of, you know, they're not a Fronius or anything like that, or a Kempe, but they definitely do the job really, really well. Highly recommend getting one of those if you're looking for a welder for sure. All right, so the next part of that question was power tools. And like I just said, I mean, I've spent basically a decade of my life selling power tools direct from a manufacturer to big green shed, essentially. So my recommendation for power tools is buy the most amount of power tools you can for the money you have, but expect the result to reflect what you spend as well. Personally, if you're just a DIYer and you just do stuff at home here and there, the Ryobi stuff is by far and away probably your best option. I don't have any experience with the Tool Pro stuff from Super Cheap, but Zito, I'd try and stretch your budget to Ryobi realistically. If you're going to be beating on the tools a bit hard, I think they're probably a bit more robust and a little bit better quality, a little bit more powerful and stuff. In terms of where you may get a benefit to spending a bit more money, I have a DeWalt 3-speed drill. There is nothing on the market that touches that drill, in my opinion. The 3 speeds just make it significantly the most versatile drill on the market. One thing you'll notice about better quality tools, and you actually have to use these tools to understand it, the weight balance, the ergonomics, all these kinds of things are what makes great tools great, and what sets it apart from the entry-level tools and stuff. So the other tool that I would say if you're going to spend money on and invest in one that, you know, is significantly better than a DIY one would be an angle grinder. And in terms of that, it would be like the DeWalt 54 volt angle grinder or the Heathcote 36 volt angle grinder. They are so far up here over any other 18 volt angle grinder on the market. It's not funny. They are both up here on their own pedestal. Then it's all the trade brand 18 volt angle grinders. Then it's your DIY Ryobi ones or whatever. So I would say buy as many tools as you can for the money. If you've got $1,000 to spend and, you know, the Ryobi comes in like a 8-piece kit or whatever, and your DeWalt and Makita and Milwaukee only comes in a 4-piece kit, buy that Ryobi, get all the tools that you can, you know, that'll save you time on, get as many as you can. If you're finding you're going to do a lot of work, especially metal, working with a lot of metal, spend that extra money and get that DeWalt 3-speed drill. Not just any DeWalt drill, the DeWalt 3-speed drill. And then also look at the DeWalt 54-volt angle grinder or the Heathcote 36-volt angle grinder. Those two power tools are phenomenal and they will save you time, which means you'll get more done in that limited amount of time you got spent in the garage. So as the thumbnail suggests, probably the most contentious question that can ever get asked on an internet forum, and probably a question that anyone in the automotive world that is maybe lacking a bit of content reach decides to ask on Facebook or whatever to try and promote a bit of arguments in the comment section is, what is a street car? What makes a street car? And oh my, what an absolute minefield this question creates generally, because everyone has a different opinion on what a street car is. In my opinion, I really couldn't care less, to be honest, but the drag and drive type cars you see over in America, you know, pretty much that to me is a street car. If it has registration, if it drives on the street, that's a street car. Once you get to the racetrack, it's about racing and going fast, and that's all that matters. So you want to drop your exhaust, you want to fill your tank with methanol, I couldn't care less. Go as hard and as fast as you can at the racetrack. What I want to know is, write your thesis in the comments around what you think a street car is. Make sure you drop your comment, then come back in a couple of days and come and have a look at some of maybe the replies to yourself or some of the other people's comments, because I think what you'll find is that some people are right over here and then others are right over here in terms of what they think a street car is. So it's always a pretty interesting conversation around what is a street car. So it's actually a somewhat short list. So the car is limited to 220 kilowatts per ton on the dyno. The ECU that's on it has to have sort of closed loop active for idle and cruise and mid-load RPM to maintain a specific air-fuel ratio. Firewall modifications means it needs to have a torsion test. Now, Astel Designs have a really good video on their series about their building an XC, I think it is, for Summernats. That actually shows what that torsion test is. So go and check out that video if you want to understand what that test is all about. They've got to sign off the wheel size, normal like modern seat belts, collapsible steering column, dual circuit brakes with a bias. It has to have the brake testing done. Once all the car's up and running, the brake bias and the fuel pressure regulator will be TIG welded in place so they can't be adjusted ever, because they're signing off on what it is. So once that's what it is, it's not meant to ever be changed again. Need a 200 cell tri-metal catalytic converter. Engine cannot be solid mounted, and all glass needs to be laminate automotive style glass. So the factory's glass basically. So pretty much meeting all those requirements. Have just got to finish the car and then get the torsion test needs to be done and have all the welds inspected and stuff before the car's painted really. So after all this stuff that's being done on it now, I'll complete all the welding and then talk to the engineer and probably get that test done. Once that test is done, it's basically a point of building the whole car, then bringing it back to them and they do all the dyno testing, engine brake testing, and then yeah, you get your piece of paper and happy days. So first of all, it's an SSV Redline wagon. Get that right. Very different than the Poverty Pack SS, please. So second of all, I still own it. So the market I have found for these cars is incredibly flat. Now, I didn't do myself any favors by taking any decent photos. I took some horrendous photos, put it up online, and then just left it and didn't really care about it. I've reshot those photos only about a week or so ago. And right now, as this video goes live, I'm gonna drop the price. I had it for sale for about $40,000, I think. And it's basically one of the cheapest of its kind with pretty much one of the lowest kilometers of its kind in Victoria. So I would say if anyone actually wanted these cars, they would have been calling or emailing about them, and it's just not happening. So I would say that if people are looking to buy one, they might be buying the Series 2. They might be spending maybe 10 grand more, but buying the Series 2 or the LS3, I think the Series 1 VFs are just a bit of a, you know, collectors don't want them. And yeah, they're just a bit hard to move on, but definitely time for that thing to go. So I'm going to drop the price and absolutely get rid of it because I could invest the money in something else. Yes, of course. The part you're leaving out there in your question is, after you tune it, how long will it last? And this is the big thing for me. In terms of rotary and EFI tuning, this is the big thing for me with someone who's a DIYer or traditional tuning shops that have no rotary experience whatsoever. The amount of times I have seen people send me messages and say, oh, I've got this massive oil leak out of my front or rear plate. Do you know what that's all about? And then I ask, oh, who tuned your car? And they'll be like, oh, Joe Bloggs Automotive, he's got a dyno up here. Tuning a piston engine is not the same as tuning a rotary engine. They have the same principles in terms of they are an internal combustion engine. However, the rotary engine is unbelievably knock limited. That means if you get it wrong and it rattles just a tiny bit, get the engine crane. They do not survive any detonation at all. They don't put up with it. It's not like your piston engine where you can rattle it a bit and the knock sensors might grab it and pull some timing out, or you hear it rattling and go, oh, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less ignition there, a bit more fuel. If you can actually hear a rotary rattle, too late, your engine is dead. So advice to anyone looking to tune a rotary themselves or get a person to tune it for you is engage with your tuner of choice first and ask them for specific examples of rotary engines they have tuned already in the past. If they can't name any, or they can name only one or two, I would personally avoid and go somewhere else. That is why rotary specific workshops exist. It will save you a lot of headache in the future, trust me. If you're looking to do this yourself, only piece of advice I can give you is be really frugal with ignition timing and do not worry about how much fuel you're putting in this thing. Do not chase peak torque on a dyno number or something, or a horsepower number. If your engine makes 500 horsepower at 11.0 AFR on the petrol scale with 10 degrees of ignition timing, and then you decide to sprinkle in another 5 degrees and lean it out a bit and it makes 560 horsepower, I know what tune-up I would rather have in my rotary engine so that once it gets off the dyno, it lasts more than one pull down the strip or a couple of laps of the circuit. So don't get too involved in dyno numbers, don't get too involved in peak torque numbers. Just, yeah, rich and very conservative ignition timings, and within reason, of course, and hopefully you should have decent longevity out of your engine. Obviously, you've only ever seen probably turbo rotaries on full boost and build project cars and that. I have had rotaries for 20 years now. I've had a number of naturally aspirated rotaries to a point where my first couple were naturally aspirated, of course, but I daily drove for 6, 7, 8 months a naturally aspirated RX4 coupe with a Bridgeport in it, and genuinely daily drove it. I drove this thing from my home into the city and everywhere. It was my only car. So I have had high RPM naturally aspirated rotaries, and no thanks. This is in reference to friends I race with often. I'm normally always pitted next to them in their red Gemini. I think they've run 8. Have they run 870 or 867 or something in their little red Gemini? It's just a 1.8 litre Gemini engine with what originally had a 67mm turbo. It's got a bit bigger turbo now. It's got a G-Force 5-speed clutchless in it. Pretty cool little car. Little light tin can thing, and it absolutely hammers. And yeah, we've had a bit of, I've known Darren who owns it, and Corey who drives it these days for probably for like close to 20 years as well. So we've got, obviously, they help me stage the car and that when I'm racing there as well, but we've got like friendly rivalry with the two cars and that, and I hope that to see both these cars in the low 8s at some point in time next year. But yeah, it's just a case of me getting out there and those guys getting a handle on their car, because they're running a small tyre and they're running a clutchless gearbox, and anyone that knows that kind of combo, it can be pretty hard to set up. So they're going through a bit of stuff with that, but progressing pretty well. So looking forward to seeing that. But answer to your question is yes, of course I'm going to wipe the floor with them. Simple as that. In terms of spark plugs, if you go onto my website and look up the spark plug section, it will actually have a pretty good description under every plug there around what you should be running in your engine and the reasons for it. I do have Denso equivalents for those B9 EGVs that are a nice affordable plug. You still need to run the machine spark plug socket, which I make and sell also on there with those plugs. But yeah, spark plugs make a big difference to these engines. So if you've ever got any questions, just hit me up and I'm pretty happy to answer specifically based on what your engine combo is, what you use it for, how much boost it's running if it's turbocharged, what fuel you run, and things like that. And I can pretty much tell you what spark plug to run in what scenario. I use Penrite Race Caster in any alcohol-based fuel, and that's because castor oil will, I guess, dissolve into and become a part of the solution for an alcohol fuel. An ester-based oil will not. It will stay suspended in solution. So you'll see big globs of it, big sticky globs of ester oil throughout your car. So if you're running E85, if you're running methanol, if you're running ethanol E10 or whatever fuel, ester-based two-stroke oils are definitely not what you want to run. Only run the ester-based oils if you're running a decent grade 98 fuel that has no ethanol in it whatsoever. Yeah, Penrite Race Caster for everything pretty much is what I use, even with 98 octane fuel is the way to go for me. It doesn't really smoke that much. I put it in massive concentrations in this thing because it's a race car, because the Apex Seals really enjoy it. But Penrite Race Caster is the #1 solution for all fuels that I always recommend to people. No. Got sold, don't know where it is now or what it's doing, but haven't seen or heard or anything about it, so no idea. Good question. Because I do this just as a pure hobby, I don't really have goals to move towards, as in like, oh yeah, I've 10,000 subscribers now I want 20,000. I'm going to do everything I can to achieve that goal, because this is purely done out of just fun and more or less, I mean, I do this for myself more so than even the audience. So I do a lot of this stuff just so I can go back in like a few years time and look back and you know, for memory sort of thing. So this is my, you know, my YouTube channel is almost like my photo album of the, you know, decades gone by. So I don't have any goals at all. My only goal is probably that the content I make is somewhat entertaining, but also informative at the same time. So in terms of work-life balance, if this is work, my life comes first, which is my normal job, my family, everything, that comes first. Building the cars comes second, and then filming content comes third. So, you know, the hardest thing to maintain that balance is progressing with these things and finding time to progress with these things. But no one's going to build your car for you, so you just have to actually bunker down and get stuff done if you're the one building your car. So for those that don't know, I don't think I've put it in the last few videos, but at the end screen there always used to be a splash screen of mrparts.com.au. That is an online performance parts business that I've run. It's my own business for 12 or 13 years now. 2023, I really need to do something with it and give it a reboot. So I think what I'm going to do in 2023 is really start to focus on this specific rotary stuff that I do, because I probably do it really well. I probably do it better than others can do it, and maybe start looking at a bit of some of the Barra niche stuff, seeing as I've got both those engines here and I've got the ability to make stuff in small volumes for community that might need it. So yeah, mrparts.com.au, check it out. What I may do in 2023 as well is make some merch for Broomy's Garage, and I sell it through there as well. So keep an eye out for that. So in terms of sponsorship or when I promote products, I'm not necessarily getting those products for free or discounted or whatever. I do get discounts, but that is because I've been involved in the industry for 20 years and I have wholesale accounts at most of the major brands around the country, and that I get discounts because of mrparts.com.au, not because of Broomy's Garage. I really appreciate any support, and you'll probably continuously see those products for months and months and years to come, because I'm invested in those brands, because those people have seen something in me to help me with my cars, which is absolutely fantastic. I also give back in terms of pretty rich content I make. So if you have a look at, we've been big supporters through Fuel Tech before the other cars were done. And I've made quite a lot of videos on Fuel Tech in terms of setting it up, setting cars up and doing other stuff. And those videos actually have more reach than some of the ones on Fuel Tech's own channel. So, I like to give back to the sponsors specifically when they support the channel. But I would hope that if you're watching me and I'm talking about a product, you don't just think, oh, this is an ad, because they're not. They're products that I've sourced myself, because they're the products that I believe in. And 20 years in the industry and knowing what makes a good product and why I've gone with XYZ product, hopefully comes off as quite authentic and also from the right place. I am not overly interested in any motorsport other than, I guess, modern category-based drag racing. So I don't really even like the sportsman sort of stuff, the drag racing, the super gases and all that kind of stuff, probably, and some circuit racing and stuff like that. But in terms of static car shows, cruising, all that kind of stuff, burnouts, that's not my scene. It's a scene for a lot of people, but it's not for me, so I would pick neither of those two. Outside my family would just be music. I probably watch more music on YouTube than any automotive stuff there is. So yeah, like music, seen a lot of live bands. I think I'm seeing Everclear here locally at Lilydale in February, and I think Unwritten Law are touring as well in March, and I'll probably go see them as well. So if you're in the area out here and you're looking for someone to go to live music with, let me know. Always keen to go to see some good bands. Also not genre defined, so I hate gatekeepers who are like, you must like this metal and no other music at all. I like all kinds of music, and that pretty much I'll channel surf in the car as well, looking for a song I like. So I won't just put it on a radio station and just listen to that. I will look for songs that I like, and yeah, I like lots of different kinds of music, so it's pretty easy to find one. Unlikely anytime soon. I've got my daily driver, they've got the Jeep, got the RX-7 as the race car, and I've got this car coming as a street car. I don't have unlimited space here or unlimited funds, so the likelihood of that happening is very, very, very low. This is way too vague of a question to give an answer for, a specific answer. Yeah, I mean, you can cheap out on everything if it only has to last 5 minutes. So, how long do you want it to last? How much power does it make? Where does it make the torque in the RPM range? All this kind of thing. So I think if you were not going to cheap out on one product, it would be a quality ECU. And that is because the ability to alter boost maps, timing maps, put in safeties, all these kinds of things can make your engine and your drivetrain components last a lot longer than if you didn't have a quality ECU. So I would say the ECU is probably the number one thing in your build that you shouldn't cheap out on. 15,000 Ks in, going strong, absolutely love it, don't regret buying it. Hopefully get another 100,000 Ks plus out of it. What I'm interested in also is the car market for the next few years. So in 4 years time, I'll probably need another car, and I'll be really interested to see what the car market looks like there, and what other cars are able to buy at that stage, because a lot of them, V8s are getting the heave-ho. Ranger Raptor with the twin turbo petrol engine could be a goer. Goals are to just race it. Race it, race it, race it. It's like welding and anything else in life. The more you do it, the better you get at it. So the more it can race it, the more we can refine the tune, the faster we can go. Realistically, end goal for that car would be to run a 7. It's something that I want to do. It's something that I've built it for. Hopefully we've got the capability to do it. I think we do. So keep on chipping away at it. It's quite heavy for what it would run in terms of class at an event like Jamboree. A lot of I think the class weight, minimum weight is 2,100 pounds. This thing is like 2,650 with me in it. A lot of those other cars that I'd be racing against are in 2,200 pounds sort of thing. So I give up. I have to make 300 more horsepower at least than those cars to run the same time. So that's giving up a lot. So I think once we hit our goal, if we plateaued at some point in time, I think weight saving would be the next thing for it. So carbon doors, carbon rear hatch, and maybe some Lexan windows, but I would never cut this car up to the point where it no longer resembled an RX-7 with big tires and a full-on drag car. What I still like about this car is that if you see it from the outside, it still resembles every single other RX-7 street car. It's got the Series 6 front bar. It's got the factory Series 6 spoiler on it. You know, it's got all the factory panels and windows and power windows, and everything on that car from the outside is all still factory. All I've done is basically gutted the interior out and put a roll cage in it, and, you know, massive engine and turbo on that, of course. But I still like the fact that it still resembles an RX-7 that you would see at any other kind of RX-7. Thanks everyone for watching, especially during the 2022 period. If you want to see more videos, I guess motivation, like it is anyone in life, the more encouragement that you get, the more you're actually going to want to do it. So how you can help encourage me is by doing the things that all YouTubers say, and that is liking the video, commenting on the video, and also copying the link and pasting it into your Facebook pages and that, and telling people to watch videos. The more people that watch my videos, the more views they get, the more I'm probably going to want to be enthused to actually record stuff. So I'm like anyone else, you know, you take stuff somewhat personally if you put a lot of effort into something and then no one likes it. So the more people like videos that I might be filming or whatever, the more likely I'm going to be filming. So you want to see more content, it probably relies on you guys more than anything else for me to actually want to get out here and record them. So thanks for everyone that subs, and thanks for everyone that watches, but like, comment, share, all that kind of stuff. That means a lot. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this Q&A, bit of a behind the scenes look and a deep dive into my brain and what goes on in there. I'll see you all in 2023.